2026 is hereby called to order at 5:02 p.m. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Barrero?
Here.
Alderwoman Garza?
Here.
Alderman Masiacos?
Present.
Alderman Nunez?
Here.
Alderman Franco?
Here.
Alderman Seville?
Here.
Alderman Banuelos?
Here.
Alderwoman Smith?
Here.
Alderman Bug?
Here.
Alderwoman Bade?
Here.
Alderman Larson?
Here.
Alderman White? And Mayor Lash is present.
Okay, is there agenda item 251038, approval of the minutes for Tuesday, December 16th, 2025,
Second.
Committee of the Whole meeting? Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Motion made by Alderwoman Smith, second by Alderman Franco. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries by voice vote. Next, we'll move to the mayor's report, which John has a short presentation, and we have an update for the council on the data center moratorium. We had promised to bring one midway through that process, and we'll let John take it away.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Another exciting night here in Aurora as we spotlight our hardworking Fleet Maintenance Division, who took home an Illinois Alliance for Clean Transportation Leadership Award in mid-December. Let's give it up for Fleet Maintenance. As an aside, the city received the award based on its significant expansion of clean fleet in 2025, 13 new EVs and 32 hybrid vehicles added to the city's fleet last year. The city now has a total of 19 EVs and 47 hybrid vehicles. Aurora also boosted EV charging capacity by 90% with 9 new dual-port Level 2 chargers installed throughout the city. These initiatives were certainly spearheaded by the city's Fleet Maintenance Division, but certainly helped out also by the Electrical Maintenance and Purchasing Division. So again, a round of applause for Fleet Maintenance making things happen here in Aurora. We're going to welcome up Chris Linville, our Superintendent of Fleet Maintenance. He's going to accept an award from the Mayor for this great accomplishment, a statewide accomplishment here in Aurora.
Chris didn't want to receive this award, but no, he's already received it once, so it's important that the city recognize his hard work. It wasn't just you, it was also the grants department working to find funds to offset that and capture incentives that are already out there. Of course, all the employees that have to adjust to a new vehicle, but you have one yourself and love it, so it must be great. So without further ado, it's an honor to present Chris Linville with the Mayor's Award of Excellence for bringing home the Illinois Alliance for Clean Transportation Leadership Award and for working hard to make the city's fleet more sustainable and environmentally friendly. Thank you so much, and if you want to share just a few words.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I just want to say thank you to council also, because without a budget, we couldn't do it. So, thank you.
Congratulations, Chris, again. Thank you so much. Great stuff here in the city. A couple of other events to look forward to before we get to the data center moratorium presentation. As a reminder, Aurora is celebrating the 41st annual MLK Day ceremony on January 19th. That's going to be at East Aurora High School. Stacey Davis Gates, the president of the Chicago Teachers Union and president of the Illinois Federation of Teachers, will be this year's keynote speaker. There's going to be some educational workshops as well, youth performances, and an award ceremony. So we hope to see you out there. You can reserve your spot at aurora.il.us/MLK 2026. And finally, Restaurant Week returns here in Aurora on January 20th. It's going to be its second year in a row. The event will showcase Aurora's rapidly growing and diverse culinary scene. There are going to be specials, events. It's going to be something you don't want to miss. You can find out more, and if you're a restaurant that still wants to participate, you can go to aurorarestaurantweek.com and fill out the details there to be sure you're on the list come January 20th. So exciting events to come here in Aurora. Congratulations again to Chris Linville. We'll move on to the second part of the mayor's report here in a moment. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it. And then I'll invite up Mr. Curley in Sustainability, Tracy, and then John, if you can cue up the presentation for everybody. So this is just, we had a midpoint progress report for the council. There is a paper in front of everybody that should have some of the details of their research if you want to follow along, and I think that's also been uploaded, but I'll let you have it.
Yeah, thanks, John. Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. I'm John Curley, Chief Development Services Officer. Tracy Vasic, our Planning Director, and Allison Lindberg, our Sustainability Director, are also available to chime in if there's any questions, or they'll jump in if I've missed anything. So as the mayor mentioned, we've promised you all a 3-month update on where we were with the moratorium for data centers and warehouses. This is what we'll touch on here, kind of a little overview on the reasons for the moratorium, some of the outreach we've done, meetings we've had, some of the research, what we found to date, and that's actually the information that you have in front of you was so small that it really wouldn't work on a PowerPoint slide, so I've given you a table there, which we'll touch on in the presentation. There are a couple of forthcoming meetings and some anticipated reports from other COGs and other municipalities that are working on similar projects. We want to go through a timeline, discuss the hardships that have been granted already, touch on the warehouse regulations, and then I want to go through a map of the ORI and M1, M2 parcels that are available in town or vacant in town to talk about the opportunity and or challenges of changes that are presented by what's left, essentially, for what we have. Again, the first couple of slides here are really from the prior presentation. Again, if you recall, we were urging the moratorium be adopted because of the number of data centers proposals that we had coming at us and a lack of some of the tools that other communities had to deal with the negative impacts that our citizens were having. And the warehouse moratorium kind of got rolled into that because we do not currently in our ordinance distinguish between data centers and warehouses. Again, a slide from the prior presentation talking about this lack of definition and how it is currently rolled into the definition of a warehouse in our current zoning ordinance. If you recall, we had also touched on the community impacts we planned on reviewing and seeing of other municipal best practices that are out there, as well as environmental impacts that we could also impact with some regulation changes. And we touched on at that meeting what other communities across the country had been doing with the kind of burgeoning data center market that's out there now, and trying to deal with new regulations to deal with the new technologies that we're seeing. Yeah. Sorry.
Alderman Spill.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but it said Chicago was going to be considering something December 31st. Do you know what the outcome of that was?
They've postponed theirs a little bit. I will touch on it at the end. We're hoping to, we have a line of communication open with them to find out what's going on in their process. They're just not at a point where they can publish it yet. Fast forward to your adoption of the moratorium, which happened on September 25th. The 6-month deadline would be March 24th. We'll go through a timeline here towards the end of the presentation. If you recall, we had some exceptions to the moratorium, so remodeling, routine maintenance, emergency facility operations by government were exceptions to that moratorium. We also had a conditional process of new applications. So a petitioner that would be affected by the moratorium would have the option of still of staff reviewing their proposals with an understanding that the new regulations would apply to them, so that we would allow them to keep moving, not lose any time because of the moratorium, understanding that there might be some new regulations. And then we had a hardship appeals process added as well. As you've seen, there have been some hardship approvals, and I'll touch on that again at the tail end of the conversation. We have had meetings with these following communities, as well as the COGs at the bottom there. In some ways, we've kind of urged some of the COGs to get involved in dealing with this, partly understanding the challenges we've been having, and understanding the kind of breadth of the challenges all of Illinois is having as well. We have had meetings with some of our data centers and some consultants. We're setting up a couple more that we plan to have here in the next couple weeks. I wanted to touch on here, so there's that table that I handed out to you is essentially a survey of 15 communities, some from across the country, but primarily regionally here, and how they're dealing with data center regulations. And there's some that are all over the place in some of those rows if you follow them across. On the far left column that's pink, you'll see the Aurora's current existing ordinances, and there's like a goldenrod column that it does some averaging, but then you'll see the communities as columns to the right of that. We have met in our meeting with some of these larger groups as well to talk about some environmental impacts, and also the Illinois APA, American Planning Association, is also doing some surveying based on some questions that we've contributed to as well. We expect to receive that information shortly. We are paying attention to other bodies, public bodies that are researching and making regulations for this. State of Illinois is working on something. Chicago, as Alderman Seville mentioned, we anticipate something in the next few months, although you'll see that we're not anticipating we stretch beyond a few months, so we're keeping that line of communication open to understand where they're heading. The Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus report, we've had several meetings with a large group that they've pulled together, and as I mentioned, the Illinois APA report that we're anticipating. So as a timeline from here, we do have a couple things that we're still trying to pull together to complete our research, and a couple of people we'd like to engage with. But laying out the timeline we anticipate from here, that timeline that's presented there to you would get us to council with the finalized proposals, and having been through 2 committees with 2 weeks to spare. So I would anticipate us being able to accomplish, if we could keep to this schedule, we could get to that meeting and not require any special meetings to deal with the expiration of the moratorium in something other than our normal meeting processes. So that's kind of what we're targeting currently. As I mentioned, we have had a few hardships come through for Loaves and Fishes. There's a warehouse on Mitchell Road, just north of Commerce, and then a project on Melissa Lane and Sullivan Extended. Those are all warehouses, which I'll touch on in a second here as well, but those have all gone through an appeal process and been approved. So those would have been otherwise caught by the moratorium, and we've sorted through that, and ultimately they have been approved here at council. So the questions we're anticipating today, based on some questions we've had already from your body, is can we move warehouses forward now? And I again wanted to point out that we have allowed some opportunities for people to not get caught up with the moratorium, which people have taken advantage of with the appeal process. And having just gone through the timeline, we're also not seeing any mid-process projects that would benefit greatly from the moratoriums going forward right now, because we're talking 5 weeks out from now, we're going to have the draft recommendations to a committee that you'll start deliberating. So right now, staff's recommending that we do not separate the two. In the end, I think you might save like 1 cycle if we were to do it, and we'd spend energy on that instead of trying to get the whole process done. We're still working on some of the things that might affect warehouses, so we'd like the opportunity to finish some of our research. And then I wanted to touch on the last couple slides here that talk about where the ORI and M and M2 uses are. So, and I'm going to refer to some notes here, I apologize. So the map that you have in front of you is the ORI parcels in town, and the ones that are encircled in red are vacant ORI. So those are the yet developed ORI parcels. With respect to data center developments, the smallest data centers we've been seeing are 5 acres up to 7 acres. Obviously, there are some data centers that are much larger than that. But for the purpose of these two exhibits, we wanted to show you, we kind of focused on 5 acres and above, based on the fact that that's basically the smallest data centers we're seeing. So I wanted to touch on the ORI parcels that are undeveloped. The first parcel to talk about there is the Heartland Recycling parcel, which is on Metal Road and 25 Broadway. That is the old quarry reclamation site, if you're familiar with it. So that's one of the parcels that would be impacted potentially by what we're deliberating. The next is Randall and Sullivan Road. That is actually the temple in Ward 6. And they've, as long as I've been paying attention, and I'm certain we could get some history as well, the temple has taken a position that they want to protect the view of the temple from the tollway, and they have no intention on developing the parcel around them. So I don't anticipate that being developed. The highlighted one in yellow, the third one, is the Toyota Motor Sales parcel that we literally just changed here last month, so it's no longer ORI. It's a conditional use that will not be now impacted because of the actions we took. The fourth row there is Bowman and Sequoia, which is actually, it's zoned ORI, and it's a relatively large parcel, but it's a detention parcel for already developed ORI developments around it. So it really can't be developed. It needs to be kept as a detention lot. The one highlighted in green is actually the southwest corner of Orchard and I-88. That is a wetland, if you think of the parcel just north of the hotel, the Hampton Hotel. And the next one is Wheatland Township Sports Center over on Liberty, and that's actually their sports fields. It is zoned ORI. It additionally, though, has a conditional use, so that it's already limited on what could happen there. And then the next parcel, which is the last one that's above 5 acres, is Pepsi Cola property to the west of their distribution facility on Bilter. And if you look, there actually is another parcel that's less than 5 that's also adjacent to it. So that's also a parcel that could be impacted by what we're deliberating. I also encircled some smaller ones down below that are all on Church Road, right just south of Indian Trail. And those are all owned by the security company right there, and could also be potentially impacted. So those are the ORI parts. Anybody have any questions on the map or the information on there? Okay, I'm going to jump over to the next one, which is our M2 and M1 parcels. So on this exhibit, the M1 is the kind of the lilac color, and the M2 is the deeper purple colors. Here, there are a lot more parcels that are developed, but a lot of them are government owned or rail spurs that aren't really developable. So we focused on, again, because of the size of the data centers we've been seeing, we focused on parcels that are above 5 acres. There are 4 that are above 5 acres. There's a parcel at Deal and Molitor, that's M2. That's basically right where Old Molitor meets Deal Road, southwest corner. There's the post office land next to the post office on Gabriel Lane is the second one. There's a parcel to the west of Mitutoyo on the tollway at I-88 and Corporate. And then the last one there that's larger than 5 acres is Gabrielle and Commons parcel, which is not developed and also would could be impacted by the regulations that we come up with. So that's really what I wanted to share at this point, and I guess I'll circle back to maybe the timeline and see if there's questions about where we're at. And
Okay. No further questions? Alderman Seville?
As you're going through all of this, has anything surprised you or staff as to what type of research you're doing? And
I think if you focus on the, there have been some. I think if you focus on the table, the our industry's response to this use is very varied. There isn't a consistent approach to this. Some people touch on things that no other community's dealing with that does have regulations about data centers. One of the easier things that is fully filled out, because planning agencies talk about parking almost all the time. If you look across the parking row, as an example, some communities are, according to what we've been doing, are way over parking these uses. And if you think about it, data centers don't have a lot of people there. We took a much different approach before, but if you look across that row, across all the communities, those regulations are all over the place. There's not really a strong consensus on what the approach should be. As an example, on that particular one, there are communities that have reduced the parking requirements and required banked parking, and partially that might be in anticipation of this use changing over time with technology changes, and then allowing it to kind of get swallowed back into some kind of a manufacturing use, and making sure that there's enough parking on the site. But additionally, it might also provide more buffering for neighbors and opportunity for more landscape. So I think there are plenty of good ideas in there, but what struck me the most is the lack of consistency on agencies dealing with this use.
That was my concern too, if somehow technology changes radically and the use changes and the like, and now where do they park? And I think bank parking is probably a good idea to consider.
Yeah.
You just never know. As we all know, you can't predict the future, so.
Another stunning number out of IEC when we met with them, because they're working on the state regulations, is that when somebody goes to apply for a data center, they have to go through ComEd first and make an application, pay some upfront money, because they've got to run power to the data center. And they said that, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but the numbers we currently produce in Illinois is 24 gigawatts of power. And the applications that they've received already in the state of Illinois require an additional 26 gigawatts. So there's a massive power demand.
And if they're going to be able to meet it?
It's a bigger than the state of Illinois problem, working with the regional power concerns. Okay. But it's the staggering issue that's impacting all data center construction.
I have a question.
Alderman Nunez, sorry.
I know the last time when we voted on the moratorium, I asked about Yorkville. What are we taking away from Yorkville and what they're going through? And I ask about them specifically just because I've seen more about them in the news and social media and all that. So could you share any insight from their process?
They're, as you mentioned, they're in the news a lot. There's, I think, at least a threatened lawsuit there that they're dealing with. We have met with them. Their regulations that I took away are not dissimilar from the things that I'm seeing from other communities. They do have a definition, which is something we need to do. And then the item there is just how there is a lot of land that is under proposal for that use there, but they also have a little bit more land available. As our last two slides shows, we don't really have that much. Certainly not to that extent. But I think I would suggest we were trading information and both learning from each other's experience when we met with them.
Appreciate it.
Alderwoman Smith.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Curley, what are you hoping to accomplish at the end of this moratorium? What are we looking for in March? What should we be anticipating getting from you?
Well, we definitely will define data centers separately from warehouses. That's consistently shown how other communities have dealt with the issue and treated data centers differently than warehouses. And the complaints that we've been getting from residents show us why we need to. So that's not a surprise, but that's definitely something we'll work on. There are going to be, currently we're working with some of the if you look in the pink column of that table, some of the regulations that we are, if you look down at architectural design, and there's somewhere in here for noise. Yeah, there's noise study. We're dealing with some of these issues in through the building code, and I'm certain we have the ability to do that. The trouble is that without it being specified in the planning process, it's kind of late in the game to then realize that there's issues going on. Now, we could take the position that it's potentially the developer's problem, which I think we would end up doing if that were the case. But I think it's important that we set expectations. So what we've been doing is our final plan process, we've been using that process and the building permit process to leverage some of the things we're asking for to ensure that we're heading in a direction that we could ultimately give a certificate of occupancy to in the end, so we don't end up with problems. But what we need to do is move away from that approach and get something on the front end that's more specific on the planning documents, so that we're setting expectations for everyone on both sides of the table appropriately, and we can share with our constituents that we've done all the research that we need to, and we're addressing everything we can, like other communities have.
Mayor, would this be an appropriate place, if not, for me to ask where we are with Cyrus One and the noise problem that we have there?
I don't know if there's any significant updates, but if there's anything. I know we're legally not supposed to mention by name.
Yeah, can we save that if you want to go into closed session and discuss that, because there is some litigation going on with that.
Absolutely. That's why I asked it in the context that I asked it.
Alderman Barrero.
Yeah, when this was first brought forward to the council, there was two things that were mentioned and there were concerns. One was the water usage and also electric consumption. So how I don't see those listed in here with respect to regulations. So what is your plan for that?
Well, I thought we had something here for water. It's shown slightly differently, but under performance standards, up near the top of the top rows of the table in between the two gray bars, that's how most communities have dealt with what they term as water pollution, which water usage is also there. And perhaps we need to title that a little better. And requirement for energy study is also in some of the notes, I think, for some of the communities. So some communities are dealing with that beyond what ComEd is asking for, or what the petitioners are asking for of ComEd for the power, requiring some kind of a study to show an impact on ratepayers in the area, which some communities have asked for, and it's something we're considering and we'll bring to you for consideration. On the water usage side, it's an interesting balancing act. So if you use more water on the site, you can cool these data centers with less energy, and it's also quieter. But there's a balance that you have to strike in order to make that not impact people negatively by swinging the pendulum too far one way or the other. But the good news is the industry has really moved away from the largest water-using evaporative coolers that we actually do have on the very first data hall, which actually was prior to the current user there. On Deal, it was for the first CME remodeling that we had on that. So the first data hall does have an evaporative cooling system. So some of the research we're doing is on available technology, how it's changing. That's an area where technology is changing very rapidly on how to cool these buildings. You can find a lot of it if you do a little Google searching. So that there will be regulations talking about that. We do need to, I mean, it seems prudent that we would not permit evaporative coolers to simply wash down heat exchangers and then flush it right into our sanitary system. We don't have that now. I presume that's where one of the regulations we'll have in place, but like I said, there are some other things. The next couple steps on the water usage discussion, you have to balance that with energy usage as well and noise.
Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Mr. Curley and everybody that's been working on it, Tracy, Allison.
Thank you.
Okay, next section is public comment. Madam Clerk, do we have any members of the public wishing to offer public comment?
We do.
Will you please read the rules of public comment?
Pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, all persons shall be permitted an opportunity to address public officials under the rules established and recorded by the council. Under our rules, any person may address the committee of the whole for up to 3 minutes with a maximum of 30 minutes allotted for all public comment. No person other than the timekeeper or the chair for the purpose of maintaining order may interrupt a person recognized for public comment during his or her comments. Members of the committee of the whole shall not engage with nor respond to a speaker during the time set aside for public comment. Staff is directed to follow up with members of the public with respect to any concerns raised during public comment within the scope of the city's authority following the adjournment of this meeting.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Will you please read the name of the first person wishing to offer public comment?
Manuel Fernando Cardoza.
Feel free to take either side and adjust the microphone accordingly. You have 3 minutes beginning now, Mr. Cardoza.
City and honorable. City, is it working? Oh. City and honorable members, I come here to comment and address my concerns on the balance of power between the city and its civilians. Aurora has a population of as high as 180,000, with some estimates saying it's gone down to above 175,000. Whether it be either one, we can't ignore the vacancy in this room and its limited space. Around 120 seats in this room for a population as high as 180,000. If 300 people wanted to witness this in person, then there wouldn't be enough room for them. Sure, they can watch it on the live stream, but many don't even know the city has a YouTube channel, not to mention the people who don't have the ability to comment on any of the videos, whether it's been uploaded or a live stream. A lot of people don't have time to come here due to time and day, the week this meeting takes place. Tuesday night, day of the week where people are too busy and tired to come in. In addition to that, a great deal of people are not even aware that they can attend these meetings or even know that the committee of the whole even exists. It's vital that the city must have enough room and well-inform the people about these meetings, since this is the biggest city, this is the second biggest city in Illinois, but if you attend these meetings. That's where the concern of the local city government being very centralized, not as open as it's supposed to be. Take a look at the theater. It's struggling with its funds, but the city allows a continuation of the construction of a new casino despite there being already one here. If someone wants to change the way or build something on their own land, the city denies them but allows a modernized apartment building, knowing the majority of the people will not be able to afford it. And our population keeps getting lower by the year, so apartments offer little to no benefits. The city could allow these meetings in city council to happen on a Saturday morning where people have more free time to attend these meetings, but does not allow it. If the city cannot do that, then at least go door to door to every house on the east side of Aurora as a start to inform the people and to show your commitment. And you don't even know which ward they're in or who's their alderman. Maybe balance out by having 3 or 5 aldermen per ward to even out the representation of the people. Maybe even say something in the following meetings in this month. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cardoza. Madam Clerk, will you please read the name of the next person wishing to offer public comment?
Curtis Wilson.
Welcome, Mr. Wilson. You have 3 minutes beginning now.
Thank you so much. So number one, just Happy New Year to everyone. I know it was a tough year last year, and it's just good to be here again. It's good to see you all because we know then that our government is functioning. So just to begin on a positive note, which again, I hope all my comments are always respectful, and just want to say Happy New Year to everybody. So for today, I would like to just simply make sure that it's clear that I have a complete trust in council, particularly the new business item for OnLight, which is the resolution authorizing an advance of $80,000. Of course, the purpose of OnLight is very important to provide the services for hospitals and schools, et cetera. But from the article that was or articles, I should say, that have been written about the particular situation with the challenges of OnLight. Just a concern is just as of November 19th, when this was published, analysis by local officials and documents that were reviewed by certain local organizations, meaning news organizations, noted that there was $1 million at the time of November as far as a deficit, with $27,000 per month as far as the operating deficit and $20,000 per month as far as the debt services payments. And so I'm curious as to how the $80,000 will truly be impactful to OnLight if they're already $1 million in debt. And again, at the time of November, it was $500,000 in loans that were also a consideration. There was a legislative text, which I appreciate, from the city officials to the mayor, which simply just kind of outlined the purpose of the money, which is okay. Again, it's very clear. But in the purpose, it mentions that legal fees will be included. And so one of the questions I have, because it's not in the impact statement, is what will those legal fees be? Is it possible that our own corporation counsel could possibly assist? I'm not sure of the legality or the issues with respect to partnering, but if we're going to provide services, and again, mindful of the budget that we just passed and deficits and all the rest, how will this $80,000 actually be fruitful for them to sustain themselves when it's only going to keep them afloat, I think, through March? Mid-March was the reporting. So, I'm sorry, mid-March was from the legislation text. So, again, I have full faith in council that the questions that will be asked at that point in time will help us get to it. And really, that's what I really just came to share, is just from a concerned citizen, full faith in council that when this item comes up, it'll be a really robust discussion. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Madam Clerk, do we have any other members of the public wishing to offer public comment?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, outstanding. Next, we'll move to committee reports, and I'll ask Chairman Seville of the BZ&E Committee to give that report.
Yes, Mayor, there was no meeting scheduled because that was Christmas Eve, so there was nothing to report from the BZ&E Committee.
Moving right along, I'll ask Chairman Ted Masiakos to give the Finance Committee report.
Yes, Mayor. Likewise, like Alderman Seville, the Finance Committee did not meet. The last scheduled meeting for December was canceled, so no report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next, I'll ask Chairman Carl Franco of the PHST Committee report to offer the committee report for the rest of the council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our meeting for December 22nd, 2025 was also canceled, hence no report.
It's going to be a short meeting. Next, I'll ask Alderwoman and Chairwoman of the IT Committee to give the IT Committee report.
Yes, Mayor, it was the same situation. The meeting supposed to be on December 23rd and was canceled.
Okay, thank you, Chairwoman Garza. Next, I'll ask Chairman Ed Bugg of the RAP Committee report to offer that report for the rest of the council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Rules and Administration Procedure Committee worked late into December and held our meeting on December 16th and reviewed the following items. 25-0996 ordinance amending section 25-267 regarding applications and fees for tattoo and body piercing establishments.
Are there any questions or comments on this agenda item? Do we have somebody from staff able to offer a short presentation? For the council's awareness, the chief of staff had a family medical emergency, and we probably do plan to delay the ethics report till next one. She was the one leading that, so go ahead.
Good evening, Council. My name is Nicholas Richard Thompson, Deputy Chief of Staff. What you have before you is the presentation. The item today is really just a necessary house cleaning amendment to our municipal code, specifically Section 25267, regarding the licensing of tattoo and body piercing establishments. So the main focus is going to be removing an obsolete requirement that currently forces applicants to seek inspection from the County Health Department. And that inspection, quite frankly, the county doesn't perform anymore, and this causes an unnecessary friction for our local businesses. And this proposed change will streamline our licensing process, reduce administrative burden, and ensure we can accurately reflect the true regulatory authority, which is the Illinois Department of Public Health. Go to the next slide. It's pretty straightforward. So again, the current problem is just some of the language in this, and I appreciate Nydia Molina for bringing this to our attention. And it was something that was being worked on with the previous administration, and they brought it up again just to make this necessary cleanup. So the current problem is Section 25267 currently requires applicants to provide a certificate of compliance with our inspection by the County Health Department. They don't do that, and the necessary and actual regulatory authority is the Illinois Department of Public Health. And we already accept that, so really the cleanup is just changing the language that's proposed in Legistar that's attached. And then if we can just go to the next slide. That's really it, but happy to take questions or any comments.
Consent?
No further questions on this. Agenda item 250996 will be added to the consent agenda.
Mayor, real quick.
Alderman Misiakos.
Just for clarification, you only mentioned Kane County. What about the other three?
Same thing. It's nothing from any county is required. It's all centralized through the state.
Okay, so we're not just picking on Kane County. All right,
No.
okay. All right, okay. I just want to make sure it's.
Good question.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
We need all the 4 counties mentioned in here?
Alderman Seville.
I'm sorry, do we need all 4 counties mentioned in here? That's a good point.
No, we're just removing the county requirement on we're just deleting that sentence.
Kane County only.
That's the only thing that we're required. We're just deleting a line in our ordinance. Our ordinance does not mention the other counties.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
All right, continuing on, 25-1018, resolution authorizing the reappointment of Zara Chavez and Rafael Martinez to the Aurora Hispanic Heritage Advisory Board.
Consent.
Consent?
Are there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, agenda item 251018 will be added to the consent agenda.
25-1019, resolution authorizing the reappointment of Zachary Bishop and Frederick Llanos to the Aurora LGBTQ Advisory Board.
Hearing no further questions or discussion, this item 251019 will be added to the consent agenda.
And lastly, 25-1020, resolution authorizing the appointment of Ella Falstrom to the African American Heritage Advisory Board. Just one caveat there that we discussed in committee, the ward is incorrect. This resident lives in Ward 3.
Consent.
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, agenda item 251020 will be added to the consent agenda.
And that concludes the RAP report. Thank you. Oh, it was already.
Thank you, Chairman Bug.
Yes, we did.
Okay, next we have agenda item 250779, which the Chief of Staff has been working on with corporate counsel and prepared a lengthy presentation, but I think I spoke with the chairman. You'd rather hold it here at COW instead of advancing it on as unfinished. Is that correct?
Yeah, our understanding that Chief of Staff had an emergency in her family. She's not going to be able to present tonight, so she is the most knowledgeable person of this item. So we're going to hold it on to
Okay.
next meeting.
Everybody okay holding it right here? Sounds good. That way if people do have any amendments, we give it a little bit of time before city council meeting. New business, I'll ask the clerk to please read the first item under new business.
251059, a resolution approving the appointment of Lucas Atara as Superintendent of Facilities Maintenance.
Second.
Okay. Is there To consent.
Oh, I'm sorry. Consent.
Are there any questions or discussions on this appointment?
Mr. Mayor,
Alderwoman Bade.
so does he live in Evanston or where does he live?
HR.
Hi, Edith Rivera, HR Generalist, so I can answer on that. He does not. He lives in Park Ridge.
Okay, and
And
there's
there's
no
no
requirement for
requirement.
this
Nope.
one. Did anybody from Aurora apply for this position?
So throughout the process of interviewing, we had a few, but not to the experience that this candidate has.
Anybody from the city?
When it originally opened, but there were issues with it, so it was dismissed, and then it was opened publicly for external candidates.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this agenda item? Alderman Bug.
I believe the gentleman's here, if we could have him stand up.
You like come forward and introduce yourself? So for formality's sake, if you're ever presenting to the council, you're welcome to take that podium there and just introduce yourself with your first and second name.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, my name is Luke Natara. Thank you for the opportunity. Looking forward to work with everybody. Any questions? Nice
Thank
to
you.
meet you as well. Thank you.
Okay, nobody requested an executive session on this agenda item, so with no further questions, it'll be added to the consent agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you. You can have a seat. The next agenda item, I'll ask the clerk to please read it, but I believe myself and Alderman Larson are going to recuse ourselves as we both sit on the online board, and I'll ask Alderman Seville to exercise his duties as Mayor Pro Tem and take the gavel.
250987, a resolution authorizing an advance of $80,000 to Onlight Aurora for operational support.
Do we have a presentation on this?
Dr. Caputo is here, and so is Austin.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Alderman. I'm Brian Caputo, the Chief Operating Officer. The City Council has received some information about the financial status of OnLight both before and after the holiday break, and I think we all recognize they're facing some significant financial challenges. What this advance will help them get caught up on some outstanding bills, as well as provide a small amount of near-term cash. You'll notice that if you look at the write-up, the money is described as either a grant or a loan to be determined. We're not sure it's reasonable that OnLight will be able to pay it back. We're hopeful that they will, but to get our better wrap our arms around that, what we're looking to do is to engage in a strategic planning session for OnLight to chart out the longer-term course for the organization, and through that process, I think we'll have a better feel for what the financial capacity of OnLight will be. Attached to your agenda item, you have a list of some of the outstanding obligations. The OnLight director, a volunteer, has prioritized those obligations, and those are the ones that would be amounting to about $50,000 that would be paid first, and then others being paid basically just monitoring cash flow and those that are the most pressing bills. So that's where we're at right now.
Any question? Excuse me. Any questions of the council?
Question.
Alderman Franco?
If we didn't fulfill those obligations, what would happen?
Well, there would be service providers that would stop providing service. There would be collection actions initiated against OnLight. It would diminish the image of the organization. I think it would be just a generally very unfavorable.
So if we lived up to our obligations or lived up to OnLight's, which we probably should because of our relationship with them, and then going forward, we're going to have some meetings to talk about, all right, we fulfilled those obligations, where are we going from here? That's kind of what
That's what
the
we're
pattern
talking
here.
about with a planning session. Now, as discussed in the agenda item, we expect that this will provide for the most pressing needs through mid-March. but depending on the outcome of that planning session, I can't guarantee. I will not be back asking for more. But I hope not. We're hoping to work through at the planning session.
Alderman Smith?
Okay, I don't even know where to start. So this is like kind of a Band-Aid,
Yes, ma'am.
a little bit of a Band-Aid. And as you are fully aware, just coming out of a financial deficit and in a very financial, not secure place when we ended last year. And I understand that we do need to live up to our obligations of this entity, but this is a private organization, correct?
It is a separate legal entity.
Okay. By us getting involved in it in this capacity, are we changing that? Are we changing the outcome, the makeup, the definition of what online is? Are we taking it in as a city? I'm a little confused on how far into this we're stepping in.
We are not taking over the organization, but I might defer to Corporation Counsel to elaborate.
No, it's no different than when we give grants or money out to any nonprofit. We don't take over the organization.
But our mayor and one of the aldermen are seated board
Agreed.
members, correct?
Agreed.
Okay, which has always been, that's
Yeah,
not
that's always
changed.
been the
So
case.
we're not changing the overall entity of the organization, but.
Finish your question.
No,
sorry, I didn't mean
and
to
what
interrupt.
you're saying to us today, was I gasped a little bit, is that you may be back in March. How deep is this going to go?
That's what the planning is going to reveal. All I'm trying to say is that I cannot say that this 80,000 will solve all issues. That's all I can say at this point until we dig deeper into exactly what it will take to stabilize the organization.
Interesting, because as we went through last year, we went through the budgeting process and we saw the holes that we had, we're trying to get ourselves out of holes. I feel like we're putting ourselves into a hole here, and I understand what you're saying. We do stand up to our obligations to this, but I do have some concerns. I mean, if $80,000 is what we need to move forward, great. But if we're going to continue to go downhill and into a black hole with this, not so great. And I know you can't answer that. You've answered it 3 or 4 times. I'm not asking you to answer it again.
All I would say, Alderwoman, is we prefer not to have to do this, but we believe this is what's necessary to shore up the organization at this moment in time.
All right. Thank you so much.
Alderman Nunez?
2 questions. Well, first, thank you for providing this. Regarding the local legal defense and the Florida legal defense, are both of those tied to the same case? And follow up with that same question. I see that billings ran into December of 25, so are we going to continue to see these legal fees pile on?
Alderman, I would have to get back to you on that. I don't have that level of knowledge, depth of knowledge about the specifics of the legal cases.
Okay. Second question. You mentioned chartering out a long-term course. So with $80,000 really being, as Alderman Smith said, a Band-Aid, do we have any preliminary ideas of potentially even leasing out what we have already ran, selling off, just so we don't continue to use taxpayer dollars to, as mentioned, continue to put a Band-Aid on it?
That is potentially one of the options on the table, and that's what we need to look at, is where we're going long-term.
And that's something that we will
It's a
have within the
possibility.
next 3 months?
That's something we're going to be working on, jumping on very quickly.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Bug?
Thank you. Yeah, during the budget process last year, we learned a lot of enlightening things about where we're at in the city, including on light. So, yeah, the mayor sits on the board and a single alderman sits there also. That was also the same with the last administration. And possibly we were not the best stewards of our great asset, our fiber. So they are our third party who, call what you want, controls the fiber. So $80,000 to continue our control of, it's ours. We own the fiber. So because of the situation we're in, because of some missteps, we need to continue to be good stewards of our fiber, find out where we're at, go forward with the new plan, but, you don't, this is one of our top assets in the city. So it's unfortunate that we have to put some money forward at this time, given some of the actions of the past, but it is necessary, and I trust you will continue on your course in finding out where we're going to go with OnLight and how to best use our fiber in the future.
Yes, sir, we will do all we can to make sure that there's a plan that makes OnLight viable over the long term. That's our objective. We've got some work to do to figure that out.
Thank you.
Any other, I'm sorry, Alderwoman Bade?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Mr. Caputo, how many board members are there and who all are on the board of OnLight?
If I recall correctly, there are 7 positions that are authorized on the board. 3 are filled. 1 with the mayor, 1 with another alderman, and 1 with our CIO. There are 4 vacant seats, if I recall correctly.
None of the old board members are currently on the board?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Did we get a report from the old board members?
No. The information that we've gathered is from the work of current sitting board members and a volunteer director.
And the 80,000 that is being requested here, will that cover the 49,342 and some aging payables?
Yeah, to interpret the schedule that the director prepared, that priority numbers, they're shown in that column on the right within the table. They agree with the priorities that are kind of categorized together off further to the right. So those will be the first things to be paid, amounting to about $50,000. And then there are others that perhaps are not as urgently needed to pay for a variety of reasons, and there might be some discretion exercised as to whether those are paid next or whether there are nearer term operating concerns that need to be addressed. We certainly there more cash would have been helpful, but we're trying to be conservative about what we're asking for at this point to keep the operations going.
So what I want to understand is, like, if we delay some of the payments, will that number increase? Like, if from 1 to 30 days, if it's already delayed, if we delay it about 31 days, it will come to a different belt, or?
Well, if you look at some of these bills already, some of them have been fairly well delayed. Hopefully with the operating plan that we come up with, the strategic plan that we come up with, this list will not grow longer. That's the hope.
Okay.
Alderman Banuelos.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Dr. Caputo, are we saying that this is going to be a loan or a grant?
That is, I was not precise about that in the cover memo because we don't know until we go through a planning process. Our hope is that it's converted to a loan, but I'm not absolutely certain about that, so I didn't want to make that commitment.
Thank you.
Alderman Masiacos.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. In regards to your long-term strategic plan, is it underway?
We are having our first meeting, I think, within a week.
And what's the duration do you anticipate, schedule-wise?
As far as getting the strategic plan done?
Correct.
One of the first things we're going to have to figure out is whether there's enough expertise at the table to do it internally, or whether we're going to need to have somebody that's a specialist in the industry help us. I'm thinking that it might be the latter, but I don't know that yet either until we get in the room and start talking about it with the various parties involved.
Okay. And all these variables that are hindering OnLight from getting a zero balance on their P&L, is there anything that right now is going to help get rid of? Are these similar types of bills that are going to keep coming?
Well, I mean, there certainly will be some legal costs. Beyond that, one of the next things I think that, I mean, just kind of very broad brush is sales. So it's not so much on managing the expense side as starting to generate revenue. So, but that's as much as that I can say about.
Okay, because my next question is, if you need sales, if that's a guarantee, that's something that's, I think, the elephant in the room. Is there anything that this new board is doing right now to bring somebody on, or is that being taken on by our IT department in order to help push sales and bring in more income while we're going through this process, so we're not, or do we have to hire somebody, or they have to hire somebody as additional cost?
Alderman, all I can say is that we need to get in a room with the planning group and sort that out. Right now, I would say that probably hiring somebody to do more sales would be one of the first moves, but I hesitate to speak for the board and the executive director. These are just my impressions, having sat in on some of the discussions.
Okay, because the reason I asked that question is I think we can anticipate additional costs to be borne by the city moving forward in the short term.
It's quite possible.
Because I don't see any way out this 80,000 is going to have an additional, I don't know, Band-Aid, but maybe a boost to get it going, probably. All right.
I think your assessment's correct.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
And Brian, these other 4 seats, were they actually filled at one point in time?
This is certainly before my
understand.
my time back at the city, but as I understand, they were.
And when was the last time any of them were participating with the board?
I can't answer.
Don't know.
Oh, there, Austin. Sorry. The volunteer director of OnLight can probably answer more of these than I can.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you. It's a good question, Mayor Pro Tem.
State your name, please.
My name is Austin Fitzcorbett. I live at 814 Spruce Street in Aurora. I'm the volunteer director at OnLight. I came here once previously. Thanks for having me again. Your question was, when was the last time any board members were participating? Well, the board documents that were left for us are very disorganized. There's no clear listing of resolutions and board meeting and attendance. I have been able to track down the full list of board members as far as I can tell going back to inception. The most recent board members all left. The remaining 3 left in succession after the mayoral administration change. The most recently voted on resolutions that OnLight had, the OnLight board had, were regarding financial matters, approving the line of credit increase and approving the authorized signer change after the mayoral administration change. So none of the recent board resolutions in well more than a year have been anything except financial or authorized signer related. The most recent board resolutions were earlier this year in May, and prior to that were in late of 2024. I'm sorry, in May of 2025 and late of 2024.
Okay. And can you share with us what is considered a legal quorum? Can you do business with 2 or 3 people in a 7-member body where we have 4 vacancies?
It's a good question. I cannot answer it.
Does our corporation counsel maybe have an answer for that, or can advise one way or the other? I'm sorry, Alderwoman Smith?
We can surmise an answer to that.
Well,
It's a problem.
okay.
We'll just.
Alderman Seville, your question.
Yeah, Alderman Nunez, I think, was next.
So the request of an advance of 80,000, we don't know loan versus grant. requests are never a guarantee. So what's Plan B if the council decides no?
I could defer to Austin, but I think just in general terms, at some point, the operation would start to close down. For one, there's organizations here that are actually servicing the customers that currently exist. If they're not getting paid, if there's anything that goes wrong at all with the fiber or the connection, there's presumably what customers that are left will find other providers.
How many customers do we have?
You want to talk about that, Austin?
Sure. That's Alderman Nunez. It was a good question. So currently, OnLight is sitting at less than 20 customers total, and that's including from the non-for-profit arm and from the commercial arm. I believe that some information was provided previously, but until somewhat recently, the city was actually the largest paying customer of OnLight through the NCLO contract. So currently has about 20 customers. Some of those are important institutional and education customers in the city. You know, I don't mind, I don't want to mince words. It's this $80,000 is to keep the lights on. It would be a shame for, in my opinion, for us to lose internet access for some of these schools, healthcare providers, small businesses in Aurora. That's been my primary motivating factor as a volunteer here, to make sure that we don't leave ourselves in a position where OnLight gets the lights shut off at a moment's notice.
Thank you.
And Austin, we do appreciate you volunteering and helping this be put back together, so to speak. And welcome the time that you spend on here. How many customers were at its peak? Were there back in the day?
There were over 30 customers at its peak in about 2019 to 2020. Monthly revenue at that time was primarily from commercial customers. The non-for-profit monthly revenue started as the majority of OnLight's revenue, and then slowly decreased at its peak, and is now back to about even between commercial and non-for-profit customers.
Okay. Alderman Franco?
I want to go back to the sales. And this is an opinion. I don't know that you're going to know the answer to this. But based on the turmoil that we're going through and this being in the papers, what are the chances of us being able to find any customers? Because who would want to get mixed up in a mess that we're in right now until we get it straightened out? So I'm just, it's an opinion thing. So I just wanted you to share your opinion, because you may know a little bit more about that than we would.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Alderman Franco. It's a good question. I think it's a fair opinion. I've taken some time to reach out to the large majority of OnLight's current customers, and those have responded, and I've had multiple conversations with most of them, multiple conversations with former customers, of which there's a long list, including school districts, including small businesses and other nonprofits. The primary reason that most former customers are no longer with OnLight is because they found cheaper service somewhere else. The market has changed significantly since OnLight was initiated in around 2005-06, and then founded in 2012. OnLight was formed somewhat out of necessity. There was not a market to sustain broadband access, and now there is. That's a good thing, right? It means that there are well-served institutions and businesses in this city. So when we talk about sales, I've explored a few sales opportunities in depth. Working with our subcontractors that deploy fiber, that run the network, to pull full price quotes for real customers, real candidates as customers. I think it's, and I'm not a businessman, but to make money, you gotta use money, right? And make money, you gotta spend money. Thank you, Alderman. And that's true here. In order to generate revenue, it requires funds to build out new fiber, to buy new equipment, and the market's changed drastically. So I think I look forward to the planning sessions that we'll have, relying on OnLight's business model that was initiated in 2006 to 2012 is not something that my opinion is we should follow. We need to do something new, and there are plenty of opportunities to do so, as Alderman Nunez mentioned. So The city is hard at work at this. I'm spend as much time as I possibly can on it, and I think you're on point with your opinion. I will say, to my final point here is, most of the customers and former customers I've talked to haven't been dismayed too much by any political turmoil. They want to get internet and go on with their lives. It's not a primary concern to them of what's going on behind the scenes, as long as it's stable. Stability is the important piece to them. That's what I've learned so far. Thank you.
Alderman Ferrero?
Yes, I have a question following up on a grant that we just received, and that was to build more redundancy and capacity. Can we leverage that grant to shore up OnLight and maybe possibly get more additional customers?
That might be a Rom question. Oh, Jeff, you gonna take it?
Hi, good evening. Jeff Anderson, Deputy CIO. The grant, Alderman Burrow, you're speaking of, was a specific grant for a specific location in town, right? Specifically the east side of the fiber ring. If you think of it as a hands around a clock, right? We're going from basically 1 to 6 on the east side. And primarily what we're going to use that for initially is to shore up the redundancy of the large, I want to say high capacity buildings we have on that side of town. If you think about police headquarters, new fire headquarters are there, water's over on the east side, right? Public Works is on the east side. We've got some capacity concerns we want to address there. And then after that, there's lots of things we've been discussing with the mayor's office about what we would do with the rest of the dollars there. That was, I think, what we presented when we brought the grant up. So it ended up being, it's a grant to the city for the city's fiber. No, it's not, potentially, right? The fiber could then be leased to OnLight or others, right? If the city chose to do it, at the end of the day, it's fiber that the city would own and operate, if you will, right? We could operate it how we wanted to, whether it's our own internal use, right? Or whether it's we have somebody else put it out. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. I mean, it's I know. Well, yeah. Sometimes if you think of these kinds of things as like plumbing or roadways, as an analogy, we build and maintain Broadway, right? And we could have somebody, put a toll road out there if we wanted. We don't. The city maintains that, and we don't care what the traffic is going up down, within reason, right? There are speed limits and those kind of things. Traffic laws. We follow similar things in what we do with the fiber if we have outside parties use it. So think of it as an infrastructure component just like that, and maybe it will help with, how we're trying to go forward with it. It truly is a city asset, just like, water mains in the ground or roads we build.
Mr. Anderson, we had discussion earlier about data centers, and so would there be possibility of these data centers being customers? Because to me, that would be a win-win if that was possible.
I'm not a salesperson either, right? I would say absolutely there's capacity in just about any of the large buildings you see around town, right? That would need the internet capacity at this point. So the opportunities are there. You would stop there, right? Whether it's apartment building or a data center, there's internet capacity that's going to be needed. Sure.
Alderman Burrow, I don't think I'm in a capacity to be as careful with my words, and as a person who's had some conversations with multiple clients and customers of data centers, I do think there's significant opportunity. I've heard from a fiber broker that OnLight is in the city I've worked with recently that there's more interest in the fiber in Aurora in recent months than there has been in many years past. That's what I've been told. So, of course, we take that with a grain of salt, if you will, but I do think that there's opportunity with data centers, as OnLight has done business with them in the past. It's all in there. Yep.
Good question. Yes, Alderman Bade.
Just one more question. You don't have to give me the answer right now, but if you can share if there are any revenues that are being received by OnLight, the numbers. Thank you.
What is the wish of the city council, unfinished or consent? Unfinished, okay. This item will be placed under unfinished. Can we ask the mayor to come back to resume so we can adjourn?
Thank you.
Well, go to executive session. We go into executive session. Yeah, okay.
You gonna stay here?
No, I'm moving. I'm just keeping you company.
All right, just checking. I can't figure out how to.
Are we ready to adjourn?
Yep. Apparently someone requested the closed session.
Oh, really?
Rick, sorry, did someone request a closed session? No. Oh, I don't know what I thought the attorney said.
There's no questions for closed session? So, okay, there being none.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion made by Alderman Franco, second by Alderwoman Smith. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned at 6:18 PM.
Well.